think India has a bad habit of blaming their genes for everything. And I'll prove it to you. 13 years ago when I started my practice, we would have type 2 diabetics walking into our clinic and say, oh, I have diabetes because of my parents. But hey, type 2 diabetes has nothing to do with your parents. If your parents have type 2 diabetes, it doesn't mean you need to get it. What you've inherited is their lifestyle. You're still cooking in the same oils that they cooked, eating the same proportion of carbohydrates, and doing all of that. It's a lifestyle disease. Today, the beauty of science, and I want everyone to understand this because it's very easy for us to blame our skin, our hair on our parents. 2 to 3% of genes will express itself irrespective of how healthy you are. 2 to 3. The balance 96 to 97% is purely your lifestyle. Now, I may have the worst genes hypothetically in my body. They will only express if I give it the environment. What is that environment? The wrong food, too much of stress, sleep deprivation, sedentary lifestyle, overtraining. It's called epigenetics. Epi is environment. Genetics, it's a science. Your environment controls your genes. And we see this in even cancer patients. Like blood cancers can be genetic in order, but when we see the patient changes their lifestyle, the disease does not progress like they had in the previous gene carrier, showing us that environment regulates, upregulates, and downregulates our genes. So we cannot become victims of our genes, because if we become a victim, we stop exploring things that we can do to get better. And we just become victims that, oh, my father has this, I'll have this. My mother has this, I have it. In fact, if they have it, all the more reason for you to control your lifestyle environment so that they don't express. First of all, we need to remove ourselves from the box of calling ourselves corporate employees. Of course, we're corporate employees. What's the difference between an entrepreneur and a business person? They have a different set of problems. See, most of the problems in the world today is because people have put themselves in boxes, and you start to behave like the box you're put in. Like Gen Zs, millennials, you put them in these categories, they start to behave that way. Why do we need to put labels? Okay, you may be a human being with a job, 3 hours of commute, XYZ problems. How much time do I have free? What does my body need? In my lifestyle, can I give my body 30 minutes of a workout? Great job. Give it to your body consistently. I'm still going to eat 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day. What I choose to eat is irrespective of my profession, is irrespective of the kind of label of designation I have. I still have time to eat. I get to choose what I eat. My sleep time, irrespective. Some people have night shifts, some people whatever. The human body requires 6, 7, 8 hours dependent on everyone. Irrespective of what your lifestyle is, are you giving your body that time of sleep? Now, the reason I'm breaking down these because it's labels that corrupt us. A simple thing, a label is marriage. Everything is great before you get married. Then you get the label of marriage and everyone starts behaving according to a marriage cycle. Whereas marriage has a very different intention. But men start feeling, oh, I'm trapped. But when you were dating, you were with the same woman. Didn't you feel trapped then? Right? It's the same thing. It's the labels we put on ourselves all the time that determine our behavior. But the point is, everyone, irrespective of your profession, do we all have 24 hours in a day? Yes. Now what you want to do, like your P&L, you want to budget your time. So if you need 8 hours of sleep, you have 16 hours a day. How do you manage that 16 hours? Let's say worst case scenario, 12 hours is going towards work, 1 hour for travel. What are you left with? Now what you choose to do with that time is how your health is going to be determined. Some people have 3 hours but decide to give it to social media. Some people have 3 hours but decide to binge watch Netflix. Some people have 3 hours and they decide to give it to their health and family because they've prioritized it. As human beings, we prioritize what we value. So if we don't value health, it's never a priority. It's something that we're constantly chasing. You need someone to motivate you. You need 10 YouTube videos to tell you to eat right or go to the gym. But think about it. Anything in your life that you value, you automatically prioritize. How many of you have children who you love? Do you need to be reminded to love them, to be with them? No, because you give them a certain value. So the whole point is really a mindset change. But when we put ourselves in that box, I've done this exercise with corporates, businessmen, and billionaires. Time management. When you come to me for change, first, I want to know how much time you have. Okay, because it's not about a diet. It's about who are you choosing to become when you decide to change your health. A piece of paper never changes anyone. It's who you decide to become. So we do time management first. And the most busiest person in the world will have 4 to 5 hours spare, but they don't know where that time is going. And I'm saying don't give that 5 hours to your body. Take out 30 minutes, a little extra for your meals, your me time, your work-life balance. So I'll just add to work-life balance over here. I believe that work-life balance is also a problem made by corporates. And I'll tell you exactly why. It's real. Some people burn out, but the honest question that we need to give, does everyone burn out? Now, some departments with poor leadership, bad apples, will burn out their employees. But look around in all organizations. Who are the people burning out? People with poor time management. People who need more emotional resilience. People who have time, but they're using it for the wrong things that further drain their energy. They're burning dopamine on OTT, burning dopamine on social media, junk food, the wrong things, can't sleep at night, and they're coming tired to work. This gentleman spoke about a fantastic study about the frontal cortex and a Stanford study. You know, the only way to improve productivity and creativity in a company is a good night rest. Nothing else. Because our creative part of our brain only gets better when it is deeply rested. 4 cups of coffee is adrenaline. It's cortisol. It's not creativity. It gives you that power to want to create. But real creativity comes when you've gone through your REMs and your non-REMs. Because memory consolidation, the ability to build ideas and even execute, can only happen when those neural pathways are relaxed. And that only happens at sleep. So even work-life balance, I think corporates can do a lot for their employees, but I don't think they should become the victim that, oh, people are burning out. We need to get into their lives, and you'll find the reason they're burning out is not because of work alone. It's because of what they're doing outside of work as well. See, I think one is, we've worked with several corporates around the world, huge ones, which are very focused on employee health and leadership health. So one way of doing it, number one, is open communication, where people come to talk about what they have. Number two is recognizing the behavior of the leaders at the top. If the leader's a workaholic, what do you think he or she's going to expect employees to do? If a leader doesn't respect sleep, they're not going to respect sleep of anyone. So what we need to start doing, some of the best organizations, and I'll call out a couple of huge names in our country, like Sajjan Jindal of JSW, his corporate wellness is, I'm the leader, I need to show how it's done from the top. Because a lot of programs are introduced into corporates, but it's finally the leaders who make it work. I remember a beautiful program with GE, worldwide. The top leadership decided to stop aerated drinks for 1 month. Guess what? The teams followed right after that. Rather than telling people, we're not going to keep it in the cafeteria, it's bad for you, they just set examples. I'm a huge believer of change coming from leaders. And leaders don't have to be perfect. That's the beautiful part of it, being vulnerable. That, hey, I'm announcing to the organization that I need to lose weight, I need to get strong, I need to do this. Because now you're also kind of accountable and people respect vulnerability. So I think leadership, we're now developing a quality score. You know, you have a medical report that can tell you 10 things that are wrong with you, but what about a quality score that can assess you on your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, and your emotional wellness? So soon we've done this with Uber and a couple of organizations. So everyone has a quality score, and that quality score tells them, hey, this is the pillar you need to improve. This is what you can get better at. And then 6 months later, they try that, they improve their quality score, and you see how employee behaviors start to change around the organization. So I think it's a two-way process. While the leaders and most companies that we talk to take this onus of saying, I need to make my employees healthy, it's also what the employees decide. I always say this to everyone who's working for a company. Why are you working? For money? I'm working for money. Why do we work for money? For a better life. Do you know how many people, because I'm at the other side of the patient, are spending their hard-earned money today to get back their health? The point is, this can be prevented. 96% of the diseases in our country today are lifestyle diseases. 95% of the cancers in our country are lifestyle. They're caused by poor lifestyle. Now, my point is, as an employee, irrespective, you're working here, you're giving your time to an organization. Try to develop that personal responsibility irrespective of who does what for you. It should be that, hey, I want to get better. I want to take care of my health. So there are just 4 things that we need to do. We can either run this through leadership or an employee takes personal responsibility. Number 1, your movement. Even 30 minutes of movement is good enough as a start. My sleep, if it's 7 hours, great. 7.5 hours, budget it in. Once you start getting used to it, you get used to the feeling of feeling amazing after sleep, you'll automatically start doing it. Number 3 is your nutrition. Okay, it's easy to say we don't have opportunities, but there are opportunities all around. I'm not a proponent of people eating organic food and expensive superfoods. In fact, our plans are the simplest foods because the simplest foods work. But look at your plate. Eat mindfully. Why should you eat more carbohydrates when your job is sedentary? Why is your protein less when you need it for muscle and you need it for your health when you're 60, 70, 80 years or 90 years? Look at your plate and know that every time you eat something, it's either feeding health or it's feeding disease. Once I do this exercise mindfully, you don't need a nutritionist to tell you how to live. You have a disease, of course, you got to change the way you eat. So just be mindful. You're mindlessly eating samosas, and then you're trying to work out in the gym. Your workout's useless. That's a lot of calories. But there's nothing wrong with the samosa. You eat it once in a way, mindfully, of course your body's going to break it down. But if 80% of your food is coming from the road, packets, ultra-processed, that is the problem. Let me give you a simple example to motivate you when it comes to nutrition. We had about 30% of our patients who would never get results. Lose weight, hormonal issues, skin. When COVID hit us, the first month, almost all of these patients started to get their results. You know what was the one thing that changed? They didn't have access to outside food. No Swiggy, no Zomato, no restaurant food. Just by eating home food, almost 30% of these people started to get their results. These are just little things for you to think about. Your sleep, and when it comes to stress levels. Again, you put yourself as a label. What is stress at the end of the day? Let's be honest about this. You can go through 100 stress management workshops, but there are only 2 ways to handle stress. Number 1, what is stress? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Stress is the way you relate to a person, a thing, or an event. It's the way you relate. Purely that. It's not the event. Mumbai traffic. How many of you travel in Mumbai traffic every day? Put your hands up. It's going to be stressful for you only based on how you relate to it. Because you can't change the traffic, but you can change how you relate to it. And like that, if everyone thinks right now about the stress that you have, it's either a person, a thing, or an event. It is how you relate to it. That's the first step. The second step, and this is the only way. Meditation, great tools. A run, great tool. Whatever you're stressed about right now, you got to put it in 2 boxes. Within my control, yes. What do I do? And do it. Out of my control, accept, surrender, let go. There is nothing you can do. But most people will find they're trying to be in control of the second category, which are things and people that are out of their control. And that's why we feel helpless. Anxiety is nothing but a sense of helplessness. You want to be in control, but you can't be in control of things that are out of your control. So if you really reflect on this, it comes down to the simplicity of matters when it comes to stress. And then you can make it a big subject and make a lot of money out of it and stuff like that. But right now, put your problems in these 2 categories. There is no way out. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO, a doctor, an engineer. If it is out of your control, there are only 3 things you can do. Accept, let go, and surrender. And if it's in your control, then you got to move to action. But today, a lot of things that are in control, people want to talk about the same problems over and over again. You know the problem. Move to action. There is a massive lack of action. People know that they shouldn't do something, but the action is wrong. So you see, once you put these 2 things in categories, you actually kind of diffuse these problems. You may be thinking, why I'm so aggressive about these points. I travel the world speaking to corporates, and I'm tired of giving the same old crap that people talk about. We should do this and this and this. Sometimes we got to accept our perfect truths and the perfect lies that we tell ourselves every day. We know what's holding us back, don't we? Be honest. All we need to do is figure out why we're not doing what we should do. And in most cases, simplicity and the most complicated diseases are sorted that way, by getting people to break those barriers. If I ask you right now, what's your perfect route? You know why you can't lose weight. You know why you're not growing. You know why you're stressed out. You also know what's holding you back. The missing element is right action. So it's really simple. Like, he's a runner. I can tell you right now, his body will be way more carb efficient than anyone else because he has more muscle. When you have more muscle, what feeds muscle? Fat? No, protein and carbohydrates. That's why athletes can have high carbohydrate diets, because they're active. Now you take a sedentary body, do you think that body is going to be carb efficient? Absolutely not, because there's less muscle in the body. So we can change. Carbs is not the demon. Everyone thinks, so many people drop carbs and you lose weight, but they don't lose weight. Why? They lose water. They lose a lot of water because they make the biggest mistake of dropping carbs but not increasing their protein. So if you drop carbs, you're going to be hungry. You're going to be irritated, snappy, frustrated. Creativity will go right down. You'll be hangry. But if I cut my carbohydrates and I increase my vegetables, which is my complex carbs, and my protein, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to burn fat and I'm going to have energy to perform, be creative, and stay motivated. So our bodies are dependent. Like a woman's body, let's take an example, going through a pregnancy, okay? It is not carb efficient, protein efficient. Whatever the body needs at that point is what you give it. It's adjusting to two lives. Post-pregnancy, you'll see the body change. A woman's body before her cycle and after a cycle. I'm just trying to tell you that look at how dynamically the body changes. Now let's come to a man. A man has a board meeting, stressed out, using a lot of brain energy, and you're going low carb. You know, the brain can burn 400 to 600 calories a day just on thinking. And if I don't have the right amount of carbs in my body, I'm going to be frustrated, angry. I'm going to eat all the cookies in the boardroom, have more tea and more coffee because the brain is just looking for energy. But I can still have the carbs, but I can change my protein and fat. So the more active you are, your body will be more carb efficient automatically because it knows how to burn that source. But if I'm sedentary, I have no requirement for more energy, right? What's the job of carbohydrates? Energy. But I don't need energy because I'm sedentary. So that's how we need to fluctuate between the energy systems in the body. So, you know, men also go through a kind of menopause. It's called a midlife crisis. It can happen anywhere between 40 to 50 years, but it doesn't have to happen. What causes it? A drop in testosterone. The same way what causes a fluctuation of hormones in a woman's body is the fluctuation of estrogen and progesterone. When testosterone falls in a man, which it will, which is why exercise and muscle is so important. Because the more you train muscle, now when I say muscle, please don't keep a bodybuilder in your mind. I'm talking about challenging muscle. You can do push-ups and you challenge muscle. You can do a yoga asana and you hold it so long that your body's trembling, you're challenging muscle. You're running, you're challenging muscle. So don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about becoming big and buff. I'm saying challenging muscle. So when a man's testosterone starts to fall, and because we live in a world today of estrogen all around us, men start to have more estrogen, which is not the hormone we need too much of. So then we start to have these little breakdowns, midlife crisis, you become more moody, you become more angry, you become more emotional, you go out and buy that sports car out of the blue even though you don't like a car and stuff like that. These are all decisions made because your hormones are changing. It can be avoided when men start to focus on their training, your exercise, maintaining muscle, challenging muscle, testosterone, protein, sleep. A man will drop testosterone when they're sleep deprived, which is why they'll also put on weight. So with a lot of men, you'll see that they'll go to the gym, they'll have big arms, but they'll also have a big belly. You'll see this with a lot of runners. They're running half marathons, full marathons, but they have a huge pot belly. But they're training. What's wrong? Low testosterone, more estrogen. Now, it's not just about looks and your mood. Men need testosterone for your bone health. As you age, like women need estrogen. So if we have low levels, the bigger problem, which is prevalent in our country right now, is osteoporosis. In men at 50, in women at 45. If you have osteoporosis at that age, what's the quality of life that you're going to have when you're 70, 80, and 90? Right? So yes, men's health and your hormones play a huge role. That's why learning to manage our stress. There's nothing wrong with stress. The point is, the more stress you have in your life, it is your personal responsibility to create more relaxation. So let's say you had a very aggressive meeting right now. After that meeting, if you're moving on to the next one, that's a problem. Take 10 minutes, calm down, breathe, have a tea, settle down, bring down your cortisol, and then move prepared for the next meeting. But if you're moving from one thing to another, that accumulation of stress is what is destructive to human health. The same thing for women. So you can take as much as you want on your plate, aspire to grow to the top position in the company. But if you are not creating relaxation because you're more stressed, that is the imbalance that leads to disease. There are many things that the Western cultures taught us that we need to look at very, very differently. Okay, number one, there's nothing wrong with coffee, but the way you have your coffee. So now a black coffee versus a frappuccino, which one would you choose? Obviously a black coffee, right? So when you have a black coffee, yes, it's rich in antioxidants, very protective for the liver, but it's different from individual to individual. If I have a stressed out individual with a thyroid problem, okay, I'm creating more cortisol and adrenaline with coffee, which is why Ayurveda usually stops you from tea and coffee. Number one, why? They want to bring you back down to baseline. They don't have a problem with coffee and tea. It's because you're already so stressed out. Coffee doesn't relax us. Coffee increases cortisol and adrenaline. Now for men, 1 to 2 cups a day is absolutely perfect. 3, if you don't have pressure, if you don't have a prostate problem, and if you don't have any cardiovascular problem. Now, it's different for everyone. When you're fasting and doing a coffee, that is another culture's way of telling you anyone can fast on a coffee. Why? A coffee suppresses appetite. But think about this. Vitamin C, common sense. You're in a fasted state. Your body's cleaning. It's like a sponge. And you put the most acidic beverage into a system that is empty. What will coffee do when it hits the system? You'll get great energy levels. It will suppress appetite because cortisol goes up. And it'll also start to stimulate your digestive hydrochloric acid in your stomach, but you're not eating. I need acid when I'm eating. I don't need acid when I'm not eating. Now this suits a lot of people, but in our country where we have a ton of gut issues, ulcers, peptic ulcers, H. pylori's, it's not the best thing to do coffee in a fasted state. Fast. But if you need the coffee to suppress your appetite, you're also missing a signal from your body. When are we supposed to break a fast? When your body tells you, I'm ready for nutrition. So we prolong it. Now you've moved from fasting into starvation. So, it's different from person to person. Every 3 or 7th woman in our country has a thyroid problem. And I'm fasting for a longer period because I have coffee to keep me going, which is adrenaline and cortisol, and I have a thyroid problem. Not the best combination. Drink coffee because you enjoy it. You love the taste. The second thing is, when you drink coffee, if you need a coffee to wake you up in the morning, you're sleep deprived. You're missing the signal. You have a quick fix. You're not going to try to fix your sleep deprivation because you have that boost of energy. So it is when you have a coffee, and it's the kind of body that you have. 2 to 3 cups of coffee is actually recommended for men today. It's also recommended for women for breast health and for men for liver and prostate health. But the problem is when we're drinking it with the wrong intention. I need to get through the next meeting. You're drained out. We need to run on cellular energy as human beings. But most of us are running on stimulants. And we're draining out our kidneys more and more and more and more. Because the more coffee we drink, the more adrenaline we're producing. And after a while, we have a crash. Your energy slumps right down, and then you need another coffee to fix it. So I would be careful with coffee. I would use it therapeutically, but I would also use it in the right way. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with a whey protein except the wrong quality, the cheapest proteins, and the misuse of protein. Otherwise, every athlete who has 2 to 3 shakes a day should all be sick, right? The point is, when you break down muscle, there's a muscle uptake. That uptake will take protein. Now, I know people who say, let me replace my meal with a protein shake because it's lesser in calories and it's protein. But there's no uptake of the protein because they've not broken down muscle. What happens to that excess protein? It creates problems. So absolutely yes, if we're unable to get protein from our food, because if we really want to get 100, 200, 130 grams of protein, you'll only be eating 5 meals a day. And it's not possible, and it's not practical, and it's not even great for your digestive system. So yes, you would strategically put in a protein shake or two, depending on the volume of your training and the food that you're eating. Now, which is more superior? Obviously, protein coming from your main food will be superior. But when it comes to whey protein, whey is superior protein because for everyone, whey is the liquid that you see on your yogurt. That is powerful, superior protein. Now, when you come to plant-based protein, it has its misses because it doesn't have the whole amino acid spectrum. So people may have to take a branched chain amino acid with it to make the full spectrum. But there's nothing wrong with a protein shake. It is how we use it and the quality that we use. Of course you can. In yoga, you do push-ups automatically when you're doing Surya Namaskars, right?
Okay.
You don't need to. In fact, the best weight, if you don't have a goal to become like buff and ripped, you can use calisthenics, which is nothing but your body weight. You can do freehand squats, one of the best exercises, lunges, pull-ups, push-ups, and you have a whole body workout. You don't have to ever step into a gym to build a great body. There's nothing wrong with gyms. People go for different goals. Now, you want to build bigger muscle, you need progressive load. You're going to find that in the gym. But if you do 10 push-ups today and a week later you're doing 15, how are you doing 15? Your muscles grew stronger. So you can do body weight exercises, and it's great for people who have less time because you don't have to think about going to a gym. You need this much of space, and you can do a 20-30 minute full body workout using your own body weight, and it's a beautiful workout, so you can do that.